Hi guys! So I am just sitting down here because I realize this video does not have an intro. This is part 2 of my quarantine massive book haul. I think we're on like book 20 or something. I had decided to split them into 2 because it was going to be a very, very, very long video. But this video will start off exactly where my last video had ended. So we're just kind of moving right along. So I wanted to hop on here, say hello, and say that I hope you guys enjoy this. And grab some coffee, some tea, some juice, some water, some other beverages, some snacks, and sit back, relax, and enjoy. I hated that. I did not like that. But bye. The next book I have is one that I have already read. It is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Bleep. This is one that I annotated. It was again for my book club with some friends. I thought this was really interesting. The idea that the author, Mark Manson, is going along with is that we all have problems, but what we need to do is stop really caring about anything but what we decide on, what we decide is the most important. And by doing this, we'll still have problems, but our problems will be better because they're about stuff that we actually care about instead of just inconsequential, everything bothers me. And in turn, your whole life will be better because you'll have better problems. I liked this book. I actually have been thinking about it a lot more than I thought post reading it. It was interesting. The author is a little abrasive, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm here for the concepts. The next book I have is another Pulitzer Prize winner. Kind of gives me A Man Called Ovi plus Eat, Pray, Love vibes. It is less. This is just a story about a guy who doesn't want to go to his ex-wife's wedding, so he says yes to invitations to a lot of literary events around the world. Kind of like 100 and around the world in 180 days, 100 days, whatever that saying is, kind of story, self-discovery, rediscovering himself. It kind of gave me Eat, Pray, Love vibes because it seemed like it is a journey about rediscovering yourself, what's important to you, that sort of deal. Kind of gave me A Man Called Ovi vibes because it just seems like it's about a guy. The next book that I have is Wild. This is a memoir about a woman's journey to walking the Pacific Crest Trail alone. It was adapted into a movie starring Reese Witherspoon. I think you're seeing a pattern here. I'm a big fan of Reese Witherspoon. What can I say? That's kind of the whole premise, is she just walks this Pacific Crest Trail alone, and it is her physical and mental journey throughout this trip. I want to watch the movie, but I want to read the book first. So the next book I have is So You Want to Talk About Race. This is another book that I will be reading and listening to the audiobook as I annotate. It is an educational book. The author talks about, race, police brutality, Black Lives Movement, a lot of different topics. And I did just see, I believe her name is Noelle Gallagher's. She's another booktuber. Her thoughts on this, she thought it was very informative and educational, so I'm very excited about reading this. I'm hoping to, if not this month, next month, dive into this. It's going to be a constant journey, and I'm very excited to have these resources and have the ability to purchase and support these authors and these resources as I continue to learn and unlearn. The next book that I have, I don't know too much about. but I've had it for a very long time on my bookshelf. And by a very long time, I mean since January or something, February. It is The Female Persuasion. This was, again, kind of a book that I got because it was just calling to me. I think that this cover is super dope. Kind of like a boss cover. It is a fictional book about a woman whose life changes. Kind of just like shifting away from what she always imagined her life to be and what her future would look like to one that she could never have imagined. She had no idea that it would be even possible to have a life like this. All right, we have a few more in the second pile. We have The Art of Racing in the Rain. I got this because my mom highly recommended it. I don't know very much about this at all. The movie cover has a car, a guy, and a dog. So that's all I know, is that it's about a car, a guy, and a dog, I think. The next book I have, you might notice if you follow me on Instagram, I just picked it up this past weekend. It is Me Before You. I was really torn about buying this because I've seen the movie, so I kind of know what happens. But this book has I believe, over 1 million reviews on Goodreads, and it has like 4.2, 4.5 stars. So it is loved, well loved. It follows 2 characters and their journey together. One, I believe, isn't Louisa? Louisa? I'm going with Louisa. Follows her as she works for this family. I think his name is Will. Don't quote me on that. Follows Louisa and Will. Will is wheelchair bound, and it is kind of their love story as well as their individual journeys. That's it. I can't with this. All right, I'm coming back to back with 3 classic books that I have never read. Little Women, Lord of the Flies, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sing. I've never read any of these. For Little Women, I saw the 2019 movie adaptation, and I loved it. I thought it was probably the best movie that I had seen in 2019. And then I saw something about how everyone hates Amy. And I'm confused. So I was like, okay, need to do some research. Let's start with reading the book. The second one, Lord of the Flies, is one that I picked up again this past weekend. I got this because my mom does not stop talking about how I need to read this. She says it's one of the most impactful, legendary books ever. It is the story of a group of boys who get stranded on an island and must figure out how to live and survive, whether that's creating a society. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that society does not work. But yeah, I've got this because she kept on bugging me about it. And then I Know Why the Caged Birds Sing. This is, I think it's a memoir of Maya Angelou's life. And I've heard that it's a very moving and inspiring book. So I'm very excited to have picked this up. Last pile. We are on the home stretch, y'all. The next book I have is Queenie. This is a story about a girl and the decisions and mistakes she makes in her life. That's, I think, all that it's about on like surface level. I picked this up because I've heard great things about it. I thought the cover was really intriguing and interesting. I like her earrings. Can you see that? She has like the double cartilage, which I like. Getting off topic here. But yeah, Queenie. The next book I have is a nonfiction. I had mentioned earlier that I got 3 hardcover books for like the price of 1 used. This is one of them. It is Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. This follows a therapist. Her occupation is a therapist. and her journey with her clients, as well as her own therapist, who she goes and sees. Has great reviews, seemed interesting enough. Maybe you should talk to someone. The next book I got was one that I kind of also went back and forth about picking up as well. I got this one used. It is Mexican Gothic. I was hesitant to pick this up because it is out of my wheelbarrow. I'm not sure what the exact saying is. It is, I think, a horror suspense kind of book. And I don't know if I've literally ever read a horror book. I read Carrie. Does that count? I don't know. Let me know. This follows a girl who receives an email or letter from her cousin, newly married, to come and save her. So she goes to this spooky house with these creepy people and needs to figure out how to save herself and her cousin. I might have read something about magic being in this. The next book I have is Homegoing. This might look familiar if you've seen my August TBR. I'm hoping to read this before the end of the month. This follows two half-sisters. One is sold into slavery and shipped off to America, and the other lives in luxury in Ghana. It is a generational story, so it follows the descendants of these two women after like this split. So there is centuries of warfare in Ghana, and it will show the generational stories of all of those descendants. And then it also shows growing up in slavery and then the civil rights movement, Jim Crow, in the United States. I have a friend who read this already and loved it, was raving about it. So that's why I put it on my August TBR, because she really wanted me to read it. But yeah, I'm very excited to read this book. The next book is Such a Fun Age, was part of Reese's book club. This is a story about a babysitter who is at, I think, like a convenience store with the child she babysits, and the police or the security guard is called because they think that the babysitter had kidnapped this child. That is kind of the entry point, I believe, for this book, and it follows the mother of the child as she tries to right the situation. That's kind of all I know. The next book that I have is a fantasy book that I have a fun story about. It is The City We Became. The fun story about this is that after I read the premise for this book, I had the weirdest dream, kind of along the lines of what this book is about. And that was the selling point for me. I was like, okay, wake up, gotta buy this book. It was crazy. But the idea behind this book is cities have souls, and individuals can make up the soul of a city. And for New York City, there are 5 individuals who make up the soul, and they must come together to fight this common evil. I have also heard great things about this author, N.K. Jemisin, I believe that's how you say it. But yes, the City We Became. The next book that I have is one that I have already read and absolutely loved, The Vanishing Half. Wow, you should read it. Read it, please. This is about 2 sisters and the decisions that they make on how they live their lives. There's a little bit of generational. We get to see glimpses of how this decision impacts their daughters. It follows one woman who decides to cut ties with her family and live as a white woman in America, and the other decides to live as a black woman. It was a very beautiful, beautiful book. I thought it was like near perfect. The characters, loved them. The storyline, loved it. The ending, I just thought was beautiful. That's like the word that comes up in my mind when I think of this book. So the next one is part of my August TBR. It is Bringing Down the Duke. This is a rom-com, enemies to lovers type of tale about a woman who is working in the suffrage movement. It is her task to recruit this Duke of Montgomery, I believe, who is going to hopefully champion their cause. Romance ensues. That's about all I know. The next book I have is another rom-com that I didn't actually like because of the romance, but I did love the book. It is Head Over Heels. This is a story of two former gymnasts who are helping or hoping to help a gymnast reach the Olympics. I really like this book. I think I gave it like a 4 out of 5 stars. Not because of the romance between these two characters, but because of the journey that the main character took of rediscovering who she is and her purpose after her abrupt exit from the gymnastics world. It was just a really moving and emotional story for me to kind of partake in. I was head over heels for it. The next book I have is a historical fiction book. I don't know too much about it. I got it used. It is City of Girls. This is told as, I think, like a book that like looks back. So our main character, I believe her name's Vivian, is old. She's like 91 or something now, and she is retelling her glamour days back in the day. It sounded glamorous, so I got it. Last 3 books. We have The Silent Patient. This is a fictional book about a woman who seemingly has an ideal, perfect life, and then one day she kills her husband and then never speaks again. It is a mystery kind of book about figuring out, 1, why she killed her husband, and 2, why she hasn't spoken since. I think this sounds really interesting. I don't read a lot of mystery, but I want to because I think that they are a great way to stay engaged with whatever it is that you're reading, because you're always guessing until the very end if it's a good mystery. The next book that I have is Deacon King Kong. I've had this for a while now, but I did just see that it was Oprah's July book pick, so shoots right up to a book that I really want to read. I'm going to try, I think, in September to read this. Creating a September TBR in early August. Love that for me. But this is a story of a church deacon who one day goes up to the town's drug dealer and shoots him at point blank range. And it is the after effects, the after effects, let's go with that, of this decision that this book follows for the town, for the deacon, for all the people that we get introduced to. I think this sounds really interesting. It just sounds like that's kind of crazy. A church deacon just shooting some dude. Why? We need to find out. So the last book of this 42 book haul. I don't know if that was right. Just a green book. Just kidding. It is A Song of Wraths and Ruin. This I'm reading right now. It is a fantasy novel. I haven't read one in a very long time, so I was kind of bringing myself back with this gem. It is a story, dual perspective story about Karina, a princess, and Malik, just kind of poor boy, and the decisions that they make and the collision course that they are on for one another. There's romance, there is magic, there is spirits, whole bunch of things going on, and it all kind of centers around this champions competition, and I just think it sounds great. Well, I know it's great. I'm 50% of the way done with it. Come on, Logan. That's it. I am surrounded by books, but that is the end of this book haul. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's a very long video. I'm so sorry. Comment below if you have read any of these, what your thoughts are. If you want a buddy read, critique, criticism, compliments, career advice, also take that. I hope that you have a great day. I hope that this video brought you some joy and some peace, maybe some laughs, hopefully no tears. But if there were tears, I'm sorry. I really enjoyed making this, and I will see you in the next one.